Good morning. I'm pleased to be with you today, part of this rich tradition of knowledge sharing between Stout and the students in the business world. Thank you, faculty and students and friends, for showing up today. And a very special thank you to the Cabot family for putting this together and recognizing the relationship between students and industry. The list of past Cabot executives in residence is an impressive one, including leaders in technology and energy, transportation, communication, business, and consumer goods and more, all with ties to this college in one form or fashion. I feel honored to be part of this great company and happy to share a little bit about myself and some examples of how Kraus-Anderson, our clients, are building leaders while navigating through the opportunities and challenges of today. Today, with my time with you, I'm going to cover three topics: my personal and family journey with Kraus-Anderson, Stout, in the Menominee area, Kraus-Anderson's commitment to the university, and my leadership journey with Kraus-Anderson and the commitment to leadership development. I also want to say hi to a few people that are listening online. I have a child two children. One is in New York and the other is deployed right now. They're listening online, so I want to say hi to them and my parents in Florida. And I want to thank a few people that showed up today that mean a lot for me. My first original professor, Hans Timper, is around here somewhere. They're there. I'm nervous because I wasn't nervous till he showed up. And I feel like I missed something. My aunt Rosemary Jacobson, who's a long-term employee at Stout, and my good friend John Hayden, who's our director of marketing and business development. So if you see a guy in the front waving his hand, I forgot to move my slide ahead. So that's what so you already missed one there, John. So like Scott said, I'm a graduate of Industry and Technology program in 1989. And although I grew up in Onalaska, Wisconsin, my family tree is rooted in Menominee. Our family immigrated to Menominee area in the 1870s to Downsville from Germany and Denmark. And our family homestead farm down by Downsville is still in the family. We were farmers and business people in the community. We owned tire shops, gas stations. We even owned the Silver Dollar Saloon at one time. Many served on city councils and county boards. My grandfather was on the REA board for years. We had numerous relatives of mine graduated and worked at Stout over the years. I actually had two uncles that graduated the industrial tech program before World War II and taught in Ohio and North Carolina. I had several cousins that graduated and contributed to the community in the Stout workforce, including my aunt sitting in the front row. She led the communications department for years, and she still lives here in retirement and remains active in the community and serves on several boards and organizations. I didn't find that picture. They gave that to me, so. Former Chancellor Bud Michaels is actually a relative of ours. This is my grandma's cousin. He was a chancellor in the 60s. There's a building named after him across the street. I tried to get it changed to Jacobson, but they wouldn't let me do that. So maybe after this, Scott can do something for me and help me out there. My parents both graduated from Menominee High School. At lunchtime, my mother, while she was working at where she was going to high school, she worked at the Marion Hotel restaurant serving Stout people. She went on to be a nurse to my dad, an electrician, and I grew up in Onalaska, Wisconsin, like I said. I spent many of my summers here. After retirement, my parents moved back here, and so I'm still here quite often. So all in all, I was practically, genetically predetermined that I had to come to Stout, right? In Stout, needless to say, Stout gave me a great foundation for my career and what I am today. Menominee and the college remain close to my heart, and I still have strong relationships with staff, classmates, and friends that I've met through this great university, and because of its reputation and continued connections to its graduates and the industry it serves. Kraus-Anderson, where I work now, is a key partner of our recruitment pipeline. Our leadership and relationship with the college goes back many decades. One of our employees, Erling Yeager, started at KA as a carpenter and advanced to senior level. When his son, Doug, who still works for us, came to Stout in the early 80s, that experience inspired Erling to approach Stout about tighter ties to the construction industry, and he worked with Hans and team to develop the the Stout's Construction Management Advisory Board. Recognizing the importance of exposing students early to estimating and training other relevant skills, Kraus-Anderson and Stout became a great example of industry and education working together to produce stronger curriculum and prepare students for the work world. KA has remained present on the Stout Industry Advisory Board since its beginnings, starting with Erling, myself for over 15 years, and now Dustin Phillips, also a Stout alumni. Because of our close relationship with the college, Kraus-Anderson actively recruits interns and job candidates from Stout's construction management program and currently employs 36 Stout alumni who have graduated here from the 80s to the present. We are so committed to the success of the college and the construction program that KA was one of the 3 companies that donated to help start the Hans Timper Endowed Chair Fund, and we're still working on that. Another great picture, Rosemary. I stand before you as an example of someone who benefited from Stout's focus on relationships to industry. Like many students before me, I came to Stout for a BS in industrial technology with a concentration in building construction, is what what it was called back in the day. In my time here, I greatly benefited from the construction faculty and Student Construction Association leadership. What appealed to me about Stout was its emphasis on real-world experience. The internship co-op program required to graduate was a career and life-changing experience for me. It allowed me to apply and appreciate what I had learned in school and helped me realize that I didn't know everything and that I needed a balance of education and work experience. To this day, it's what we hear from our CM interns. Being on job sites, running real work, and under the guidance of mentors with a sound educational foundation is the secret sauce for success. My co-op experience was with TCI Construction in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and it greatly expanded my knowledge of the business of construction. One of TCI's founders was Jeff Towner, also a Stout grad. TCI had never employed an intern before, but he had wished he had the opportunity as a student. He made room for me and created a position that gave me good insight into the business and some useful skills. I made plans, I ran errands for building permits and other documents, and learned to do takeoffs and estimates. I went back to school a more confident, knowledgeable student. After college, I joined Hyatt Hotels as a project manager in Chicago, and that experience helped me attain an owner's perspective on construction. I traveled throughout the United States and the U.S. Virgin Islands doing projects for the Pritzker family. In addition to Chicago, I worked in St. Louis, Los Angeles, San Francisco, St. John in the Virgin Islands, and finally Minneapolis. In construction, you gain a lot of important information in a hurry living out of a suitcase. Great experience. I joined Kraus-Anderson in 1992 through a relationship I formed with a Kraus-Anderson project manager when we hired them to do a project at the Hyatt Minneapolis. To this day, I still don't think they have my resume. That was the way they did things back then. You know, you got to know people, you did a good job, and they asked you if you wanted to come to work for them. I started out at KE doing miscellaneous small projects, traveling all over the Midwest. I never said no to an opportunity and jumped at a chance to try new locations and product types. As the business grew, so did I. I advanced to a senior project manager, a vice president, and operations leader. Today, I'm the executive vice president and chief operating officer of Kraus-Anderson, overseeing all of the construction offices and personnel within our company. So who is KA? The short answer is we're leaders in the built environment by creating and building relationships with our people and our clients. The company was established in 1897. It's headquartered in Minneapolis, owned by a family that has owned them since the 30s. And we work with clients around the country with a primary focus on the upper Midwest. We operate 7 regional offices in Minnesota, North Dakota, and Wisconsin, and we're ranked as a top contractor by volume in Minnesota for the past 4 years. We have over 700 employees and we're licensed in 30 states. We cover a lot of ground. Last year, our construction sales surpassed 1.2 billion. And John, it's going to be 1.5 billion this year, right? Kraus-Anderson works in numerous market sectors with our primary markets including housing, healthcare, K-12 schools, public sector projects, performing hundreds of projects a year. About 80% of our projects are repeat business, which means that we are not a low-cost provider. We try to be a value-added provider. In addition to construction, we're part of a family of companies that include real estate development and ownership, insurance and risk management services, and finance. Each KA operation works independently, but we also in tandem with the others, depending on the project or the opportunity. And although our core business is construction management, today Kraus-Anderson provides a number of value-added services that help our clients make informed decisions about their build environment, including energy efficiency, sustainability, and life cycle return on investment for their buildings. Our pre-construction team provides estimating and supply chain expertise, mechanical, electrical guidance, building information modeling, and other digital tools to help owners and facility managers maintain oversight during construction and access systems and manuals and other operating information after construction. Our K-12 school group works closely with districts and architects to provide some sound budgeting information during pre-referendum times, helping to align goals and engage communities. Their approach has led to a very strong success record of financing and building educational facilities. We describe our project managers as seller doers. They take an entrepreneurial approach to their work, supported by our brand and our substantial expertise and resources. We give them the authority and the autonomy to pursue and deliver work, building on their book of business as they go. Training people, giving them goals, accountability, and support, and trusting them to do the right thing. But why is the title of my keynote Leadership by Example? 3 reasons. Those are some old pictures of me, so I guess that's kind of payback there on that one. So, first of all, you build upon life experiences. I didn't come to Stout planning on being a leader knowingly. I enrolled in Stout to get an education in construction or tech education. Somehow I ended up a leader. In high school, I had leadership opportunities, but I was unaware that that's what they were. I was a football and track captain. I led other groups and activities. I was appointed a leader, but I really didn't understand or embrace it completely. But it was part of a learning process. Second reason I'm talking about it today is I learned to be a leader from mentors and the examples others set. Dieter Antoni, Ron Johnson, and Hans Timper in my educational journey. Ted Lorenzi with my time at Hyatt. Gary Benson and Dick Lemke early in my KA career. John Hayden, Al Gerhardt, and Bruce Engelsma, who I work with today and have for over 30 years. And Russ Becker and Jim Duty, that are industry partners that I trust. These relationships have not only made me a better leader, but they have made work fun. They are not just mentors. I golf, I fish, I know their families. I have a beer with them once in a while, and we talk each other off the ledge if needs be every once in a while too. The third reason I'm talking about this is believe in yourself, that everyone's a leader. For the longest time, I didn't even acknowledge I was a leader. I just worked hard and tried to do the right thing by my values, my coworkers, and my clients. One day I woke up and realized that I was a leader. People kept calling or stopping by my office looking for advice and direction. So much so I couldn't even get my day work done. I had to do that before and after hours. I had to really slow down and think about my responses because people were listening and taking my advice to heart. That was a revelation. What really helped me actually visualize and get a grasp of leadership was when we put a team together and designed our core purpose and our core values. Over several months, we talked about what was important to us, our employees, and our clients. What was our personal why and what was our company why? We must have had 25 different versions of our core purpose. It was a struggle and it was taxing because your core purpose and your core values don't change. We were setting the foundation for the future of a 100-year-old company, and we knew the purpose and values, but we had never talked about it or written it down so we could explain it to others. For our core purpose, we arrived at to build enduring relationships and strong communities. What does this mean? To us, it means that we are always about relationships at work, at home, church, or volunteering. Without relationships, it's a very transactional life and not very satisfying. Our next step was to work on our core values. We even had more discussion regarding these than we did on the core purpose. And we determined that our core values are integrity, which means do the right thing, always be respectful, honest, and fair. Commitment, to take ownership, work hard, and keep our promises. Teamwork, to collaborate and foster trust and success for all. And value people, to support each other in a safe, positive environment where people are recognized and appreciated for their contributions. As our company continues to grow and the world grows increasingly complex, it is more and more necessary that our people understand who we are and where we are going. Kraus-Anderson's core purpose and core value provides us with a compass that we check as we work through our strategic planning and our daily decision making, explaining our company to potential new hires and onboarding new employees. Our markets may change, people move on, technology changes, but these words can help us stay connected and engage in meaningful ways through changing and challenging times. Everything we do at Kraus-Anderson starts with leadership and people. We are a service-based company. In its simplest form, we rent high-quality, trained people to our clients to build something. From the smallest of projects to the multi-million-dollar projects, our people are at the center of what we do. We work hard to identify leadership potential and form partnerships with key employees to build our teams. The war on talent is a reality, especially in construction. Like many industry, construction is grappling with an aging workforce, technology challenge, change management, diversity and inclusion goals, and knowledge transfer challenges. We recognized these issues a couple of decades ago and have made great progress in positioning ourselves as a destination employer. Our people share a dedication to building careers with meaningful impact, working together towards shared goals, and being a respectful environment where employees can feel that they are welcome and can be productive every day. We are highly proactive about employee recruitment and retention with numerous programs and opportunities for employees and professional development and community involvement. Our continuing education initiative, Kraus-Anderson University, was established in 2007, again by a Stout grad named Mike Smudgick, who works for us today, and provides mentoring programs, training, and a wide range of technical and leadership skills, and other opportunities for professional growth and advancement. We emphasize close communication and transparency through our operation, sharing employee feedback through annual engagement surveys, and providing updates on action items as part of our work towards continuous improvement as an employer. One of our greatest success stories of Kraus-Anderson University and Kraus-Anderson Construction is our Leadership Development Program, LDP. Every year, we take applications from employees that have an interest in expanding their skills in leadership within Kraus-Anderson. To date, we have had over 80 graduates, and we have another 9 in the program right now. We focus on 9 core competencies: team building, coaching, communication, continuous improvement, decision-making, delegation, driving for results, managing conflict, and planning and organization. They meet a couple of days a month and finish up with a real company issue that needs to be researched and solved. We partner with industry professionals who help with the curriculum and instruction. Again, hats off to Stout grad Mike Smudgick for developing and managing this program. We are also committed to transparency and continuous improvement. Last year, we rolled out #goals. This means goals and outcomes aligned for success. This is to better communicate our company goals and inform relevant discussions between employees at the lowest to the highest level and their supervisors so that they can understand how each individual's work contributes to our overall success. We've designed our Twin Cities office into one modern headquarters with an open office plan, workplace flexibility, and a host of employee amenities to encourage wellness, collaboration, and creativity. Our workforce development efforts include engagement with numerous schools and nonprofits, such as Achieve Minneapolis, Summit Academy, the ACE Mentor Program, and Starbase, exposing underrepresented students to career opportunities in construction and other STEM professions. And we maintain a strong relationship with Stout and other higher education institutes as they are rich feeders for our internship program and our recruitment efforts. During this time of great flux and transition, baby boomers and Gen Xers are aging into retirement. Millennials are looking over their shoulder at Gen Z, and Gen Alpha is not far behind. We feel like we're doing something right. Of our 700 or so full-time employees, close to 10% have been with the company over 25 years. At the same time, about half our workforce has joined us within the last 5 years. We enjoy a rich, multi-generational, and increasingly multicultural KA employee base. But like other industries and life, we are in a state of constant change and challenges. During my 30-year career, we have weathered at least 3 major construction market turndowns, and we are currently in one. Inflation. Inflation in our sector has been well over 45% the last 3 years. Lumber, steel, concrete, and other raw materials are part of everything we build. And to compound the inflation effects, the supply chain and inventory of many products have slowed project starts and stopped progress on jobs. Somehow, or some materials we used to be readily available are now more than a year out. The material we need for our projects come from the US and all over the world. In 2023, we're hoping for some relief on inflation and supply chain delays. These issues are causing a lot of problems with our mental health of our employees and their positive attitude because they don't feel like they can control what's going on in the market. The pandemic. I know we're all tired about talking about it, but it was a real issue for us. Many ways it affected us. We kept our doors open because we are considered as an essential business. We needed to modify hospitals, keep roads and schools open, finish projects we were in the middle of. We experienced over 500 incidents of COVID, and then we needed to work through communication and reaction plans with our employees and our business partners. We've always been a remote workforce, but we needed to upgrade our IT work capabilities, and that is a continuing success story. We have over 300 employees in our office that needed to figure out how they could work from home and in the office or in a hybrid model. We spend the majority of our time today back in the office using our modern space and ability to collaborate with our team members, but it was a challenge when that was dropped on us with about a 2-week notice to get that up and running. We're also battling a shrinking workforce due to aging and fewer people entering the industry. We have a strong need for labor in the office and field, and we just don't have the numbers to support the growth. I'm sure you see it if you have home projects or other businesses that are heavy service oriented. Hotels, restaurant, automobile services, they're all having the same issues that we're having. We are constantly not only recruiting for KA, but for the entire construction industry. We are constantly selling our industry as a great business to work in with plenty of jobs and opportunity for growth in a real sense of accomplishment. Yeah, Sheila, I heard it, John. I heard you think so. But it's not all doom and gloom. The world in Wisconsin, Minnesota will always need some form of construction. In most states, the construction industry comprises about 25% of the economy. Students and new grads are bright and they're fast learners. They have a passion for our business. Technology is making amazing strides with GPS, drones, scanners, and cutting-edge software. Our IT department rivals that of a large tech firm. So this gentleman you see a picture of here is Lloyd Engelsma. He was our founder. He was an accountant in the 30s for Kraus-Anderson, and they decided they wanted to get out of the construction business and go back to work for the state. So he bought basically a truck and a wheelbarrow and a couple of shovels and started and kept the name Kraus-Anderson, and his family still owns it today. As our longtime leader, he used like to say that every challenging situation, there's a nugget of opportunity. So taking our cue from Lloyd, we listen to our clients, we look at market conditions and develop new services in response to opportunities. And we always have plenty of new initiatives at KA. In 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic, we launched a formal facilities assessment department to provide comprehensive building analysis for owners to help them prioritize their construction and maintenance goals. While many owners were putting construction plans on hold, facilities assessment was seen as a sound investment. For KA, it was a way to open doors to further business. 3 years later, the facilities assessment group has tripled in size and is building relationships in our business substantially. Our yard operations have grown over the last few years also. We include large format printing and graphics in recapturing the expense of job site banners and other signage and enhancing our brand. We offer over 5,000 products that we sell to our own jobs and to our competitors and to subcontractors. We also recently started a non-branded KA equipment business called Equipped. It rents lifts and scissor jacks and things like that for job construction. That helps our project subcontractors stay on schedule. We even rent to our competitors. We saw that we had numerous vendors on job sites renting out the same equipment to our trade partners. By our renting our equipment to them, we know they have quality, safe equipment and an efficient delivery and storage plan. This year, we also recently launched Empire Concrete Sawing and Cutting, another non-KA branded operation to provide additional services to KA projects. Our self-performing team is helping us achieve better outcomes and also serving as a place for us to grow talent for our field. We continue to grow our business geographically, with our newest office in Milwaukee, extending our sphere of influence throughout the state and beyond. And we're actually have other plans in the future for looking at other locations in the Midwest and throughout the country. A few final thoughts before we open it up for questions. As I stated earlier, I didn't initially study or set my sights on executive leadership career, but as I learned largely through osmosis and great mentors, inspired by the examples of those around me and my willingness to take on new responsibilities, I grew step by step in my career path. Stout was the best place for me and many others that began that path to leadership, and I'm forever grateful for that opportunity. Today, as a Chief Operating Officer and Executive Vice President of Kraus-Anderson Construction Company, my goal is to support and reinforce a workplace that embodies our core purpose of building enduring relationships and strong communities. Our people, many of them Stout grads, are the center of the past, present, and future success of our company. Building leaders for today and tomorrow is a never-ending journey that all of us must have a vested interest in. Strong leaders and teamwork are the keys to accomplishing great challenges. I believe in the 1960s UCLA basketball coaches John Wooden's approach to leadership is being in front with a banner and not behind with a whip. Thank you again for allowing me this honor and your support of this institution. I open it up to any questions. I think there's mics that you have too, right? If they want to come up and. Okay.
What guides you when you make easy or difficult decisions?
That's a good question. You know what? First of all, we really go back to our core purpose and our core values. That's where we start. If it doesn't fit in that box, it's not the right decision, or it helps us push us in the right direction. The second thing is, what are the long-term effects of that decision going to be? You know, what's it going to cost? How long is it going to cost that? What are you going to have to do for staffing? What's the reaction from your staff or your clients? What's the reaction for the market? Very rarely do make a decision in a silo. That's why you have a team, to bring them together and ask them what their thoughts are, what they're thinking, what they think the effects would be. So we are set up in several small groups and then one large executive group that help make those decisions. So I really don't feel like I'm doing it on my own. I have a really good support system to help make those decisions. But it goes back to our core purpose and core values.
Great, Kraus-Anderson. What made you want to stick around, or what really stood out with them compared to other YouTubers? Made you want to stick around?
Good question. So I was, like I said, I was traveling around the country working for Hyatt. I wanted to stay in one place for a little while and get on with the general contractor. When I started 31 years ago, I thought I was going to stay 5 years. And so I missed that by a little bit. But it comes down to, even though we did not have our core purpose and our core values lined out, I felt that with that company, that they made ethical decisions, that they believed in growth and wanting to grow in myself and as a company. They cared about the community. And then I made some really good friends and friendships through Kraus-Anderson, at Kraus-Anderson, and in the subcontracting community, and it just felt comfortable. I mean, I had thought about going other places at other times, but not within the community of, of Wisconsin and Minnesota. I would have gone somewhere else. But it's just been, a great family to work for, and a great industry, and a great region. The region, our construction in Minnesota and Wisconsin and Iowa is not boom or bust. It's more of a steady playing field, which also suited my personality. Arizona and Florida and California and Texas can have highs and lows. I with my personality, it's better to have a little bit more of an even ride, and that's another reason I stayed with Kraus-Anderson as long as I have. A lot of good companies, and a lot of good companies in the Midwest, though. Mike?
Yeah, Rich, thanks for coming today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Being here. Going to ask a question for the students in the room, the future leaders. When your team comes to UW-Stout or any other university and you're recruiting, what do you look for in students for leadership potential? What are those identifiers that your team is looking for that can grow those future leaders for your company?
Sure, that's a good question. So what we really look for is good communicators. I mean, even if you're an estimator and all you're doing is looking at a set of plans all day long, you need to know how to communicate with subcontractors, the people you work with. So what we look for, first of all, is people that are that you can tell that they're either going to have good verbal and written communication skills, look you in the eye when they talk to you. There's a comfort level that they got. Some of that comes with, experience and time. But at the end of the day, you can teach a lot of the construction skills if you've got someone that communicates, asks questions, listens, and cares about what's going on. So we really focus on communication.
Good morning, Rich. Right here at the back.
Oh.
My name is Cole Beckstead, and I have an expected graduation date of May. So I guess you could say the real world's fast approaching. Obviously entering the workforce and working your way up and being in the position you're at now as an executive VP. What would you say is the biggest challenge with being a leader and placed in a leadership role? Would you say it's more the administrative side of things, such as dealing with the pandemic, et cetera? Or would you say it's more the personal side of things where you're dealing with, let's say, tough personalities, for lack of better words, in the workplace?
Well, you know what, that's I gotta think about that one for a second, because you can answer that a lot of different ways, because every day is different. So I started out as a project manager, and my day-to-day problems were things not showing up on time, subcontractor issues, things like that. As you grow in a large company like Kraus-Anderson, you end up being more of a human resource manager than a construction person. And so I would say, not that I don't like those kind of challenges, but I would take a problem with a concrete footing over a personnel problem any day. But that is probably the biggest challenge is people. We have 700 employees, and every once in a while something new comes at you, and you say, I just can't make that up. Where did that come from? But again, with John and team, we've got a good base of people to bounce things off from and talk about and figure out how to do it, because with working, sometimes in 15, 20 states, the personalities and the travel and things like that do get to people. And at the end of the day, a brick still goes in like a brick goes in, but the personalities can be a big challenge.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of contracts that you enter into, and there could be a lot of dynamics. What is the overall attitude of KA in terms of addressing any disputes that arise?
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, you mentioned about 3 challenges, and one of them is the pandemic. And I expected that during that time there were a lot of disruptions in terms of the supply chain, and also some potential legal disputes. So the contracts. What was the approach?
Sure. Well, I'll start with our philosophy. First of all, we have 4 attorneys that work for us, and that's not because we're litigators. That's so it goes the other way. So we don't have problems. People like myself and our project managers are not expected to be legal experts. So we We have one person that works in our real estate group. We have one person that just focuses on construction. That's my resource there. And we have a general counsel that takes care of some of the family matters, the trust and things like that. So our philosophy is to get ahead of it, first of all, and make sure that we understand what we're getting into before we get into a project. So we really make sure that, sometimes too much, try to avoid the risk before we even sign on the dotted line. So we understand what we're getting. In some contracts, we do have to sometimes just say no, even though there's business there. The risk is not worth it. So we're not a litigious company because we're not a hard bid contractor. We're a negotiated contractor. So what if there is some sort of a dispute, we have mediation in our binding mediation arbitration in our contract, one or the other, before it goes to court, to try to settle it at that point rather than having a long drawn out court case. Usually if we do have some sort of an issue, it's on schedule or delays, and we handle that. On the owner side, it's sometimes they actually run out of money before the project's done, and we have some sort of issue with them from there. So not a litigious company. East Coast and West Coast, you do see more of that than you do in the Midwest here, which is, again, a good reason for me to stick around here. During the pandemic, that supply chain and delays was a very, very big issue. Force majeure, came up and went out, which is uncontrolled circumstances. And so we have tried to mitigate that as much as possible, not so much by the contracts, because that's very hard, but by our schedules and communication. And so an example, I talked about the supply chain with the some items are more than a year out. That's like electrical switchgear. We used to build a large building in 12 to 24 months. Well, if you don't have your switchgear for 18 months, that means you can't finish. So we find out what those long lead items are, and we sometimes give the owner the bad news that we're not starting that project until the longest lead item fits into our schedule. And that was a real tough change for a large contractor like ourselves, because we could usually, before this happened, we could buy our way out of a schedule problem if we needed to. We could go to another vendor, we could pay more money, we could accelerate this and that. When they tell you they don't have it, kind of like running out of toilet paper when the pandemic started, they don't have it. And so you got to come up with another plan for that. So we've had to put together, over the last 2 years, a new communication plan for our 100 project managers, so they understand what to ask, what to tell the owners, and then also look for certain idiosyncrasies in the contract that we make sure we have it covered. Hey there.
I think is really important is that construction courses start with AEC, right? Architecture, engineering, construction. And so the curriculum is set up so students take classes with, at least a series of classes with students from other programs too, like interior design and tech ed. Can you talk a little bit about just the benefit of how all these things connect, right? Working with different disciplines, both as part of the construction program, but then in the industry. So can you talk about just how you're working with different people who have different strengths?
Sure.
So that's my first question. And then the second is, does Kraus-Anderson have specific metrics around diversity? So have you set goals, and how do you define what diversity is? Are you looking for diversity of gender, or, et cetera, et cetera? Just curious if you can share any of that.
Sure. I'll start with that question first, if that's all right. So we do have diversity goals, and because we're a private company, we lump that all together. So people of color, women, everything is all in that bucket. We're at right around 30%. Every year we're trying to gain 2% on that. Now, the good part about Kraus-Anderson is people work there a long time. The bad part about it is sometimes we're not hiring because if we're staffed up, we aren't looking for new people. Like we don't, except in the field, but in the office with the professionals, sometimes it's hard to build those numbers. So we are working on that side. Those are our internal goals, is to gain 2% a year. And we might have to put a hold on that at some point, but that's where we're at. If we have federal jobs or state jobs that have requirements, then those are specific goals they set for us there. just being involved with recruiting and knowing what's going on in the Midwest, I mean, there is a great opportunity for women in construction right now. And we've seen that grow a little bit at a time, but when I went in the program, there was maybe 1 or 2 females in it, and now it continues to expand from there. So, I think that's the biggest upside, especially in our region. It's hard. There's big construction programs in Texas and Florida and in Alabama and Georgia, and for some reason they don't want to come up here because it's cold, and so we're fishing out of a small bucket, from Milwaukee to, Minot and everywhere in between there. The second part of your question is, I mean, that's a really good question, because every day, I'll start internally first. So as a chief operating officer of the construction company, we have obviously project managers and project superintendents. And then we have John's team, which is about 25 people of marketing and business development people. Some of them don't know anything about construction. They are graphics people, internet, social media, things like that. We have our pre-construction team, which is full of estimators and project managers, but also on top of that, we've got BIM people that are total techie people. We have 2 drone pilots. We have people that are MEP, mechanical, electrical professionals, structural engineers, and architects in there. None of them went to school here. So then we have the legal group that we interface with, human resources that we interface with, our yard operations and things like that. So safety. And so as a chief operating officer, I need to interface with all those people at one point or time or another. And you never really ask what they went to school for or what they did. You're just worried that you want to make sure they know their job, do their job, and can get done what you need them to do. And so there's no difference there. Now, when you get outside of our 4 walls of our business, we build, we have 4 or 5 core markets, but we build in about 12 or 15 different types of product types. So you might be working with a dentist at one time that's building a clinic. You might be working with a retail store manager. You might be working with the CEO of Target. So you really got to be able to understand what, as a service provider, you got to be able to ask the questions and understand what they're looking for. So I think it's really good to have a wide base of that, and I think Stout provides that from at an early age too.
New grads, new employees, something that I've seen for myself is that we try to be as perfect as possible, entering the workforce. I think we like to perform at a high level and not make very many mistakes. Can you share any experiences you made along the way, especially when you're a younger PM and everything? Any mistakes you made along the way, or things you would have done differently?
I've got mistakes I made yesterday too, if you want any of those. So, you know what? Probably earlier in my career, I was, that hasn't changed in the 30 years that I've been out of school, that you're afraid to make mistakes when you come out of school, and you start in any new job. I think you're that way, no matter if you've been out of school or into the industry for years. Being afraid to make mistakes is a part of life. But if you don't make mistakes, really, that means you're not doing anything. And in construction, that's tough. So I probably sat on my hands too much early on, just trying to figure it out by myself without using the resources and some of the mentors that I talked about. I should have done that quicker and asked questions sooner rather than trying to be smarter than I really was. And so the worst thing you can do in construction is nothing. So if you don't do anything, it goes on to the next week, and people don't know that there's an issue. If you do something in construction and a lot of other things, even if it's wrong, people are going to say something to you about it, and you can correct course. So it's not only eating up your stomach on the inside by not doing something, it's affecting the whole team by not doing something and overthinking it. So I would say I would have been more verbally, out there with some of my teammates as a younger project manager coming right out of school. Now, that being said, I think I cured myself of that when I did go to St. John and the Virgin Islands, and there was myself and another guy on a 4 by 5 mile island out in the middle of the ocean with nothing else to do except to rely on ourselves, because there was no internet, no cell phones or anything. He and I had to make a lot of calls, sometimes late in the afternoon or late at night when you were, when there was a container being shipped from Miami to Puerto Rico to St. Thomas to St. John. If you missed something, it could be another 2 weeks before it came. So I learned real fast that I wasn't doing it right the first couple of years out of school.
What is like your favorite thing about your job, and what is like your key motivations and like passion to continue your career?
Well, you know what? My favorite thing about a job is, seeing a team win a project. And that they put a lot of work into it, especially the larger jobs. So if they're passionate about it. We bid a $100 million parking ramp in downtown Minneapolis last week. I mean, and people go, yeah, really, a parking ramp? How exciting is that? But we had, I don't know, John, 10 people working on that project. They had to put together a proposal. They had to put the bid together. And then myself and another gentleman went in with the last hour, to review their numbers and look at what they were doing, what their fees were, what their team looked like. And then they actually had to just push send on it. And they were, working as a team, doing a great job. And then I took one of our job superintendents to lunch at a restaurant down the street, and that team came in as a team to kind of, decompress and just have some fun and get together. Whether they won the job or not, of course, I'd love to see them win it, but just that excitement and that teamwork is pretty cool. What do I look forward to? That's interesting, because when you get later in your career, you look forward to different things. And I guess right now, if you had to ask me that, I would say mentoring the next generation of leaders at our company. I think that, ours, when I came up through the ranks, there was not so much of a path except hard work. And we're trying to create a path and hard work now. And I'm looking forward to, working with some of those people that are in that leadership development program that are getting a little later on in their career, that when I'm ready to retire and move on, that I feel good about that, and they do too. And so that's what I'm looking forward to is the next generation of leaders. So Josh and Mariah Carr, the people in the middle, are both Stout grads. And Josh, who has the award in the middle, he was a young up-and-comer. Josh, he was a young up-and-comer in the Twin Cities. And so it was like an icon and a rising young professional event in Minneapolis. And so it was kind of the old crew and the new crew. And so we had a table together and celebrated Josh and Mariah. Josh winning that award. So those are some of our project managers and team members that were there with them. And Josh is one of our project managers, and Mariah works in our human resources and diversity program. So she has all the numbers 100% if you ever want them. Any other questions?
In a field that already has so much experience.
Well, I think that first of all, being involved in what we have going on. So that I talked about the Kraus-Anderson University program. I mean, there is a lot going on there, and we actually track that, how many people, because most of it's voluntary, unless it's something we need for certification. So we know if people have gone to 10 events or 5 events or none. And so we do look at that to see a level of interest. People talk about working remotely and being in the office. I can tell you that the people that are in the office have a leg up on the people that are working remotely. And people don't like to hear that, especially new in your career. But when you are in our industry, and probably like a lot of others, we have teams. You can't build a building on your own. You need your estimating team. You need your business development and marketing. You need your building science. So if you're working in your basement or at your house, and your team is spread all over the place, it's not as efficient, and you don't build relationships like you do being in the office. So the people that are visible, that are willing to take on challenges, within reason, don't say no to projects, small or large, traveling if they need be, above and beyond. It's not any different than it was 30 years ago. Might be just measured a little different, but it's not that different. People that want to be in the middle of the company and want to grow, you can tell relatively soon who has a passion for doing something more above and beyond what they're doing right now. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate the time.
We have a little something for Rich here. We're not gonna let you get away with that. We're not gonna let you get away with a little souvenir.
All right.
Visit, you know, but want to thank you again for your comments, particularly. If I can reiterate one about don't be afraid to ask for help when you're starting out, because I was afraid too.
Yeah.
And I found as I got older, my parents got smarter.
that too.
Thank you, Rebecca. So, Rich, we have a little memento of your day with us. We have this plaque for you, and to quote the man who invented me, who was Robert F. Swanson, as I remember when he presented an award like this to one of our very first residents. He said, it is wood and laser engraved. So it's a combination of our oldest building material with one of our newest technologies. So again, thank you for coming here. Thank you for spending this day with us. And again, you join a long line of wonderful residents, and I'm just really proud to have you here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.